Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review of Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. And yeah, continuing my series of Friday the 13th reviews, which may be delayed a little bit more, but I still am enjoying going through them one by one as I have my girlfriend to watch all the movies, so it's giving me a chance to go back and talk about each one of them. I did do a video back around Halloween, talking about what I think is the best or my favorite, slasher horror franchise. I said Nightmare on Elm Street is the most entertaining. Halloween may be the best quality. I don't know about that. I could go back and forth on that for a while. But then I still said Jason Voorhees himself is my favorite, slasher, serial killer, and he very much is. And, this movie, though, reminded me of just how much I love the Friday franchise, if I didn't already know it. Because Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, is my favorite of the series. I'll just say that right off the bat. I still have to rewatch the other ones again, but I don't think that I'm going to enjoy them more than I did this one. This one just had a lot going for it, and honestly, I like it more than pretty much any other movie in a slasher franchise, I think, or it's pretty damn close. It's definitely one of my all-time favorite horror movies, most likely. I have the deluxe edition DVD copy right here. I have the NECA Ultimate Jason, Part 6 figure. Still want to get a hold of the Mezco one sometime, but that's really expensive nowadays. But this movie, it's not, completely serious. It is, kind of self-aware. It is kind of, it has, dark, black humor in it. It's not taking itself 100% seriously all the time. Because, this is where the franchise sort of took a turn, It sort of started that a whole Jason thing that we're used to, the unstoppable zombie, supernatural, quality we have with them. It's now emphasized more than ever in this movie, for the first time, really. Because, he was, superhumanly, strong and durable and everything like that in the first two films, but nothing like this. And that was because originally they were going for that Tommy Jarvis being the killer angle. We've seen hinted at in Part 4 and even more so in Part 5. And they're going to go for that in, Part 6, I guess, have him actually become the killer. I don't know if they're going to have him take up Jason's mantle or something like that. But no, that ended up not being the angle they wanted. I thought it would be a safer bet just to resurrect Jason himself and have him come back as such. And I think that's definitely the best move. And, like I said, this movie, it's kind of silly. It has some... I don't want to say light stuff to it, but it has some, like I said, it doesn't take itself 100% seriously. But at the same time, it mixes that in well with some genuinely cool, horror moments for the franchise, I think. Like the whole resurrection scene, the whole Frankenstein type of thing. It is pretty silly, but I love it. It's awesome. Jason looks great in that scene, even though he's covered up by a lot of rain and the dark lighting and everything. I think his still his face and his his zombie look looks really cool. So I really like that. You get the punch through the chest where he takes Tommy's buddy's heart out. That's one of my favorite kills ever, actually. So yeah, that resurrection scene, it's over the top, Frankenstein-like, whatever you want to say. Tommy jams that part of the fencing into him and lightning strikes, there he goes. And so I know it's silly, but it's still awesome. And Tommy's reasoning, he's still psychologically damaged, but he's not going to be turned into a killer. But he feels like he needs to make sure Jason's dead, so he takes his buddy to the grave. He's been in an institution for some time still, apparently, though. And then he just, lets out, and then, Jason is resurrected, and he's pretty much screwed people for the next however many films. So it is kind of stupid that he went off and did that, but, it is what it is. They had to find some way to bring Jason back, so... And you have C.J. Graham playing Jason in this movie, and he's honestly one of my favorite Jasons. Of course, there's Kane Hodder. I really liked what Derek Mears did in the remake, actually. I don't mind kind of Ken Kurzing, or I like Ted White and Richard Brooker. But I gotta say, C.J. Graham is probably within my top 3 favorite actors to play Jason. He has like a military background or something, I believe, and sort of the way Jason carries himself, the way he turns, the way he sort of like kneels down, to pick up the spear, the fencing at the beginning, and just the way he carried himself throughout the movie. Just I don't know, it seemed like almost military-like, just the way he, how like quick he would move and how precise he would move and stuff like that, or try to. I felt like that actually really worked, and that it actually became apparent as I was watching the movie, and I thought it really worked for the Jason character. Now, of course, you have the whole paintball scene. You don't really see Jason killing in the daylight that often, but he comes across this group of paintballers. And I think there's actually a different guy playing Jason in this one before they had gotten C.J. Graham into it, but still, nonetheless, it was fun. You have this guy, I forget the guy's name, but he's running around, he's taking it really, really seriously. He's just tripping all over everything, though, which was fun. And then he had sort of this really weird, like, sexist type of character who gets his arm torn off and everything, which is cool. Jason getting used to his own strength again, it's even greater now. So I thought that whole thing was pretty fun. As far as like the cast, I think the actor's name is Tom Matthews, who played Tommy in this one. I thought he did a pretty good job. I don't want to say he was great, but he is the Tommy we all sort of know, besides Corey Feldman's in Part 4. He's also the Tommy that is used in the Friday the 13th video game, which I will be doing a video on at some point. I've been playing that nonstop, by the way. But I thought he was good here. Of course, a little, once in a while he's over the top, but that's kind of the movie. And his romance with the sheriff's daughter, it is kind of rushed as fast, but I honestly think it had more life to it than a lot of other romances we've seen in the movies, like the whatever teenagers are meeting up at the cabin again and they rekindle their old romance or something. It feels a little less typical than that, so I can say that for it. And the cast in general, I thought, and the characters had more life than in a lot of the other previous movies too. And that was something that the director, Tom McLaughlin, actually went for. I was reading some things about the film, and that was one of the things he wanted to do. He wanted to create more likable characters, not just the main couple, but the rest of them that were going to get killed. He wanted you to like more than one of them. And I think he actually succeeded, because I liked characters like, Sissy. I liked, my girlfriend actually liked, Paula was her name, because she was looking after the kids towards the end, but she ends up getting smashed through the window, then hacked up by the machete. And it felt like Paula could have been like the final female or something like that, but it turns out to, of course, be the sheriff's daughter, like I said. You have Martin, the grave digger. He's a drunk. And it's before we get into the others, the characters, like I said, were better in this movie, I think, than the actors playing them. I think put a little bit more into it. There's also of course, the MPAA also cut a lot of the violence down. They didn't butcher it quite as much as Part 7 from what I know, but they still interfered with this one and onward as they do. So their deaths probably would have been, that probably would have shown more. But I also know there was a case of where they wanted death to last longer, because Sissy, she ends up getting her neck completely twisted around and taken off, and they wanted to, I'm not saying the MPAA wanted this, but I'm just saying that they made sure to add more to the death at one point during production. That was a really cool kill. I like Sissy, but the whole head turn thing, full 360 was awesome. But like I was saying, I sort of forgot my point. What was I saying? I don't know. Sorry about that, guys. But I should probably talk about the sheriff as well. He is kind of your typical dick, not listening to Tommy about Jason being back and being convinced that Tommy is even laying these body parts around the camp or around the town and stuff like that to make up his own story. But I thought the actor playing Sheriff Garris did a pretty good job. And there's like a genuine moment or two with him in the movie. David Kagan, I think, is his name. So I just read. I thought he did a pretty good job. They could have had a worse actor playing the part, I think. And then, like I said, there's a moment with him where it's pretty evident that Tommy could have been the one, killing these people at a certain time. And you can tell he's a little bit shaken by it. And then his death comes when he's going back and forth with Jason. Then he hears his daughter calling out, getting Jason's attention. But then he jumps on Jason anyway to make sure, or to slow him down so he doesn't get to his daughter. So he wasn't a complete and total ass. He was just kind of ignorant, or really just not really open to dead people coming back to life, I suppose. Yeah, he also has one of the best deaths in the movie too, because he gets like bent backwards, literally like origami. So that was another really good one. This film has some really good deaths, and I know Part 5 had a lot of interference as far as the kills and everything. But even without that, the kills were just really bland in Part 5, I think, and Part 5 is still probably my least favorite film. You can watch my review on that if you want to hear more thoughts on it, but I just found it to kind of be bland in general. Even without the edited down kills, they're still kind of unoriginal kills. Whereas this one, it got a little more creative again. It had a different energy to it. You have a couple songs from Alice Cooper in this movie, including "He's Back," "The Man Behind the Mask," which is a really cool tune that he made up for this movie. You also have like Teenage Frankenstein, I think, which is cool. But yeah, I talked about how over the top and silly this movie is. But hold on, before I make that point, I also talked about Sheriff Garris and his death. He is eventually delivered by Jason. But I also like when he uses the gun on him repeatedly, and Jason just keeps on coming. And he shrugs it off with all the cops in the movies. And it's just kind of funny because I'll talk more about when I do a video on the game, but I love the game, by the way. But cops are like a way to escape in the game, and Jason just gets shot down, and then you gotta rise up as Jason. But then you're stunned by counselors hitting you once with a bat or something, and it's just kind of silly because like when you're playing as Part 6 Jason, how are we as fans supposed to believe that Jason would be that sort of flimsy taking all of this? I don't know. I'll save that for the game review. But I still liked it. Jason setting up over and over after the shotgun blast and everything was cool. But yeah, I was saying how silly this movie is, and yeah, it kind of is. It's not taking itself 100% seriously, but there's still some really genuinely good stuff in it. It has a really nice atmosphere. It feels like it's this empty sort of town and camp. It's named Camp Forest Green at this point. They're probably gonna have to rename it again to cover it up. There's a really cool atmosphere to it. It's dark. It's gloomy. It feels like this town's being, it's becoming more and more empty. The walls are closing in, kind of feel to it, I think. It's kind of a spooky feel with Jason wandering around, with the fog and everything. There's some really good shots in this movie as well. Like when he's stalking, I think it is Paula. You see her walking through, and you can see Jason walking beside her, outside on the other side of the windows. When Jason takes out Cord in the RV and it crashes, you see him standing on top of it. It's really cool, which I'll show at the end when I give my rating. Then you have the paintball stuff, but then you have Jason's interaction with the kids in this movie is something I also wanted to talk about. People have complained that they should show more kids in these movies because it's a camp, which is a fair point, but I'm sure they're not really going to send many kids there nowadays. In a way, Jason probably should, probably wouldn't shy away from going after kids as well. He went after Tommy in Part 4 and everything, but Tommy's, a good amount older than these kids when he was in Part 4, and the kids in this are much younger, actually. And when Jason is, freaks one of them out who's named Nancy, which is actually not, of course, it's a Nightmare on Elm Street and everything. But Jason never tries to grab her. He doesn't get aggressive with her or hostile. He just goes up to her and looks, leans in really really closely and looks at her, And then he also has a chance later in the movie. He has a bunch of kids huddled, and cornered and everything, but he just doesn't really bother with them. He just keeps, he crashes through the wall, but then he just ignores them and goes outside. So I may be looking too much into it, but I don't know. I think it would make sense. I think it'd be kind of cool and interesting if Jason makes a point to not really go after kids unless he has to, which I think would fit, with what he experienced as a child with, the bullying and how he was drowned and everything. The only reason he should go after kids is if he can tell they're little shits that would have bullied him. So I think that's actually kind of fair and that interesting. That would fit the character if it was that way. That's kind of how I like to see it from my perspective, anyway. So yeah, that's a part of it as well that I liked, or I like to imagine myself anyway. I don't know. And there's another point I was gonna make, but I forgot about it again. So that's cool. Sorry about that, guys, but I'm not the best movie reviewer. But yeah, this is just a really, really cool movie, and I think it's a landmark in the series. I think it was all around the best, or at least my favorite one. I like him using the spear at various points, or the part of the fencing. There's different kind of weapon for him to have. And then Tommy ends up finding this book that if he takes Jason back into the lake, and finds a way to keep him there, that he'll stay put. And it's weird that I found it in a book. It doesn't really make sense. And also, Tommy is almost drowned by Jason. He's strangled, and it appears like he's dead. But of course, the sheriff's daughter is able to revive him. Tommy probably should have been dead, yes, and she probably should have been too. But the propeller goes off on the boat, and gashes Jason's head in a little bit, and then breaks part of his mask, which we see still broken in part 7, which is cool, as well as the chain still around his neck. And then, of course, they tease us at the end with Jason's eyes still being open, seeing that he's ready to break out again whenever he can. But yeah, I honestly love this movie, and I was struggling to find a rating for it. Like I'll just show you here. B+, A-, A. I'm not sure. Yeah, like I said, it is my favorite in the series, so I feel like I should rate it pretty highly. But at the same time, it's not like the greatest, movie ever, so I was hesitating. But honestly, I'm giving it about an A- and an A, because this is what my channel's about. I love horror films, I love slasher films, and this is definitely one of my favorites. Like I said, it has humor in it. It doesn't, take itself seriously. It doesn't take itself 100% seriously, but still has some really genuinely good stuff in it for fans. It doesn't mock the Jason character, really. He's pretty damn awesome in this. More on point than ever, really. So yeah, I love this one. Let me know what you guys think about Friday the 13th Part 6. I could keep talking about it if I wanted to. If I could get a shower and actually try and have a day, so... yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe. Yeah, also something else that's kind of cool to note that I finally remembered is that, the tone it has, the unserious tone it has at times, actually inspired Kevin Williamson, who worked on the original Scream movie. And he said at one point, Friday the 13th Part 6 actually inspired how he handled the Scream film, which I think is pretty cool. I've never really been into Scream movies that much, but I may watch them again at some point and then give you my thoughts whenever I do. But I still think it's cool that it influenced another pretty big movie in the genre like that. So yeah, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.